Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another edition of our story. My name is Omulangira Kalema from Africa, to be specific, Uganda. And now we have Roland from Germany. Roland, you must welcome.
Thank you.
And we have Dr. Kojo Ablode. You must welcome the show.
Thank you very much.
It's actually German meets Africa. Roland, how are you?
I'm okay.
How do you feel you being in Africa?
It's good. The weather is good.
What is good about Africa, apart from the weather?
Which part of Africa do you mean?
You know, Uganda to be specific. No, we are Africans. For us, we don't care. Actually, it's Africa as an entity.
But there are many Africans. There are more than 1,000 cultures in Africa. And basically, what you don't find in Africa, you don't find anywhere in the world. So when you say we are Africans, I just hear the idea of Pan-Africanism, which is a racist idea from USA, which is not in Africa, and which is used to colonize Africa, to colonize African minds. Pan-Africanists will tell you that that some African with slightly pale skin is not African, like the bush people in South Africa, like the San in South Africa. They will tell you they are not real Africans. And they will tell you that the Australian Aborigine is African because Australia belongs to the white man. Or how should I understand it that they say any black person is an African? No. Only in Europe and America, well, with America I'm not so sure, there are no black people originally. On all other continents, some black people live. There are black people in Asia. Australia has only black people, and not all Africans are black.
Not all Africans are black.
Of course not.
Joseph, do you agree with that?
There's no human being who is black unless you're colorblind. The shirt you are wearing is black.
Yes.
I don't think there's any human being who has that color of the skin.
I wouldn't be so sure.
And that wall behind you is white. And I don't think there is no human being on earth who is white. People are not described by the color of their skin. People must be described by where they come from. Because you see, black connotes negativity. I can give you examples. If a child in a home is a deviant, they say it's a black guy. But the road where you get accident, they say it's a black spot. If you trade badly, they say black market. You get the point.
Yeah.
And then
The negation of the word black.
Exactly. And then the American president lives in the White House. So all that colorism is not the right way to look at human beings.
Roland seems not to agree with you.
Africans are people who come from Africa, and Europeans are people who come from Europe. So this connotation, this description, we need to make it clear to our people that we are not black people, we are Africans. And you can't change that. You can never change your source. I can never become a European.
I think the reason why we call ourselves black people is because of the melanin. You know, what makes our skin
Melanin is not black.
It's what? What color is melanin?
Melanin is not black. Black is that shape.
I mean, what color is melanin? Because they tell
So
us
we are just darker than other people.
We are dark. We are darker than other
We are
people.
darker in color than other
Okay.
people. And it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change us from being human beings. I get the point. But if you use the color by description, and that the connotation is where the problem is.
Okay.
So it's better to avoid calling some people white and others black because of the connotation.
What's your view, doctor, on Europeans?
I have no problem with Europeans. I have problems with systems.
With systems?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with
So you have a problem with
Otherwise,
systems?
Roland will be my friend.
No, you have
And we have talk.
we have problem with their systems.
I will have problems with systems, not just
Whose systems?
the world system.
The whole system.
The world system.
The world system.
That is where my challenge is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Roland.
Roland is a very nice person as an individual. And
How different are you from other Europeans? Because
I don't know how different I'm from other Europeans because from inside you don't see the difference. You have to look from outside to see the difference. It's like with African, you say I'm African,
yeah.
but I learned when traveling in Africa that every African thing, Africa is just like my village, like my backyard, just more far away. So when I'm seeing how Dr. Ablode just said, not every African looks the same,
Yeah.
but they are all from Africa. And that is exactly what I meant with it.
Oh.
Africa is a continent that has more than 1,000 cultures, and all of these people are the same Africa. The Egyptian that is coming from Alexandria is African. The Moroccan is African. Because he's born in Africa and grew up in Africa. The same applies for the Buganda that is coming from Uganda here. But the same applies to the bird that is born in South Africa and grew up there. They are all Africans.
What makes a person to be African? Is it where he's born? Or the mindset?
Because you come from
Because you come from Africa.
Yes.
And you can't change that because that's your source.
And when you have more than 1,000 cultures, then you have more than 1,000 mindsets.
Because the reason I'm saying this is there's a time when Morocco was playing World Cup. When they won, they dedicated their win to the Arab Republic, not Africans. You know? Yet they are born here in Africa.
It's not where you were born. It is where you come from.
Where you come from.
Exactly.
Is there difference?
Definition. Yeah, there are differences.
Okay.
I can go give birth to my child in his home. I get me. That doesn't make my child a German.
German.
I get the point.
That is Dr. Ablode is right here. But the question is, when the Moroccans dedicated it to the Arab Republic,
Yeah.
which Arab Republic? When you, was it the Arab Republic of Morocco? Which is
Morocco.
No, let
Which is a
me help you there. On this earth, we have Europeans, East and West. We have Arabs. We have Africans. Then we have Asians. I get it.
Yeah.
I think that those are the four main human groupings that we have on earth. I get it.
at Australia,
If you come to where Australia,
and you have complete Australia and Oceanians, and you have complete the 5 groups, you have the 5 populated continents.
no, I'm not talking about the continent.
That's the Oceania,
I'm talking about groupings. We have Europeans, we have Africans, we have Arabs, and we have Asians. Are you getting it? Now we move.
Yes.
Today you go to the Americas, you find, maybe we add America as the next one. The Americas are one. You go to America and find people from all the other groupings in America. Are you getting the point? But that doesn't make them Americans.
Okay.
In North Africa, the people who live along the Mediterranean are Arabs. Are you getting it? The pyramids were not built by the Arabs.
Yeah.
Right? So we are still talking about identity. Yes, they can do that because they know they are Arabs. They speak Arabic. Do they speak Arabic?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, because that is their language. They are not speaking anybody's language.
So that's their culture. They practice their
Yeah, they are Arabs.
They
They
are.
speak Arabic, they practice Arabic culture, but they are living in Africa.
So does that make them Africans?
Well, it depends on how you want to define it. Today, they will say they are African. Then why would they dedicate their home not to Africa but to Arabs?
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So it is okay that they did that because that is who they are.
So Roland, is it okay to call you a European?
Yes.
All right. All right. Why why do Europeans, including you, maybe you let us know, why do you take yourself to be superior than all other races?
We don't do that.
You don't do that. It has been there for ages.
But this is the British do that. The British considered there was a theory that all societies develop the same, and there are more and less developed societies, and the British took their own society as the highest developed society in the world, superior to all other Europeans and whomever else. They developed the burden of the white man, which was actually the burden of the British man, to bring the enlightenment of the British society to the world. Well, that was a fantasy, without scientific background. Slightly over 100 years ago, a Polish guy called Prof Kojo put it on a scientific base. He founded modern anthropology and sociology. He studied in Oceania, on the Solomon Islands. He studied societies there and noticed that the societies, except for the optics, are the same like in England. That the structures are exactly the same like there. It's just that the people look different and certain things look different. The boats look different, the plants look different, the land look different, the people look different, but the social structures are the same. So this superiority thinking, it is since 100 years ago gone. Not even the British, they cry a bit for it, but okay, let them. I never heard about it when I grew up there. I felt it. We say, yes, we are more developed. Why are the others not developed? Not because they are somehow inferior. There must be other reasons for it. Let's go and help them. That's where the idea comes, but the idea is, in my opinion, after I seen a bit of the world, is wrong.
It's wrong.
Yes. The idea is wrong because everyone has to develop himself based on his own culture. Back to Malinowski. He put up a theory that all societies, all cultures are equal, and the differences are coming to the natural conditions of the place.
Okay.
Speak some society, how they built, it is special for this place and not for other place. So you can see that parliamentary democracy, to come to politics, it works perfectly there where it comes from, Northern Europe, Iceland, the oldest parliament in the world. Scandinavia. It works there because it came out as the best method to deal with the Northern European winter. To have a society that has a parliament where everybody speaks for and where people keep the word, and when someone breaks the word, he gets excluded from society, but is more or less a death sentence, because an individual isn't able to survive the winter or has very low chances to survive the winter on his own. The society is needed to survive the winter.
To survive the winter. Okay, now, thank you very much. Now back to Doctor. It's deniable, that for them being a European, they're not taking themselves to be, superior.
It is my experience.
Yes. What were your experience as an African have you ever been considered to be inferior by the Europeans? Share with us your experience.
I will, let me take it back to these two people who met on the plane. What you shared with me. And Walter is one of them from the US, telling Zambia that we are superior to you. You guys are lazy. You all a lot of
So,
because
European.
Because we feel we are more superior than you. That's a typical American attitude. You may not find it in Europe, and I will explain that. And he was saying that we can't create anything, Africans cannot create anything, they are just lazy, they are idle, they don't know. And my understanding of that is that it is not just that Africans are lazy people, but then the conditions you find Africans in today is systemic, is built in a system to deliver what we are saying. Systems are developed to deliver what we are saying. There are very poor people in Europe. Even in America, there are guys who sleep in the streets. I can think they are there. But they don't, the projection is not on those ones. But they keep hammering on Africa on a daily basis. That you are the poorest continent, you are the dark continent. Everything the people in authority, those who run the systems. I have a lot of friends from Europe. They are not the problem.
They are the problem.
It's not the Europeans who are the problem. It's not the Asians who are the problem. The problem of Africa is the world system.
World system.
And I told you the world system.
And I want to get that system.
I want to let you know that the world system is a creation
by
a few people. Even the European, ordinary people.
We are Africans
they suffer from the same system.
Were Africans involved? Were Africans involved in the design of the system? Yes. Who designed the system?
You know what you see on the surface is not what it is.
Yes.
Just a few families, few people who think that humanity must be controlled and shifted, moved, according to their
what
they want. They are the ones who have designed the systems and are running them.
But
I can tell you that human beings, as human beings, we are the same. We are the same.
Is that right?
We have the same organs. We have the same functioning. We eat food.
Oh, yes.
We all do. We behave like we are normal human beings. Without the world system, there will be peace on this earth. But they have designed the world system to make sure that the earth, the human beings on earth, don't see peace. And they are just a few people. Are you getting my point? Normally, they are just a few families that think that they must dominate.
Let me say
dominate the earth.
Yes.
And
You agree with me.
This earth because of resources.
Yes, you agree with me and Ronald here. What is saying that, for example, if me, Kalema, does something, or I do something, I represent my family. I represent my country. I represent my continent. So if someone does something bad, it is portrayed to all the likings. That's the reason why we're asking that question. That is it all Europeans? Because if they design the system,
it is not all Europeans.
But Europeans design the system.
Not all Europeans. Like I'm saying, just a few people.
Just a few.
Yeah, who build their world system.
Without an African.
Even without majority of the Europeans. Are you getting the point?
Right.
Let me explain this before we go back to if you look at the world, even Europeans, the ordinary Europeans, are suffering from the same dictates of the world system that we as Africans are suffering from.
You also suffer from the same system.
Of course, from the same system.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. It is. It is so that these people in this system, they put into the mind of Africans that they are something different because they are Africans.
Exactly.
And this is absolutely wrong. That's why I'm saying African is someone who is born and grew up in Africa. With the born, we take it not so exact, but someone who grew up in Africa is an African. So a Moroccan is an African, the same like in Uganda is Africa. There is no big difference, it's just because it's the same continent, and it means nothing except of the location. The culture, there is something, the culture of West Africa, where you're coming from, and your culture, they developed apart. When we look into the genetic history for some 200, 300,000 years. The culture of Europe and East Asia, Japan, it developed apart some 20, 30,000 years. That means that the cultures of England and Japan are more close than the culture of West and East Africa. So when someone speaks about Africa as a unity for me, then he says that the culture of Japan and England is basically the same. What we know is not a difference, but that are the differences between East and West Africa. When you look at the attitude, when you came over here, I'm sure that you notice that people think completely different than at the place where you grew up. I actually, as I traveled, I was surprised how similar East Africans think to West Europeans, which I can't say about North Africans, which I can't say about South Africans, and can't say about West Africans, at least according to those West Africans I met up to now. I haven't been in West Africa as such. But I know they think different, and so it was surprised that East Africans, they think similar to West Europeans, the thinking structures. But as said, it is something like Africa as such, as a unity. The only thing that is connecting is a continent.
Oh.
There is no connection in attitude, thinking, culture, philosophy. Because the people developed separately, developed different concepts. And only one who wants to oppress the people tell them they are all the same, move aside.
The thing is this, without any disruption, any interruption, African cultures are very close to each other.
Yes.
Without any disruption coming from any other place. We all have kings, we all have our kingdoms, just like in Europe. We all have our cultures, which are close, very similar to each other. We have our values, which are very close to each other. But if we bring it into this current modern, I put in quotes, situation, then these differences can show. But let's see, before the Berlin Conference, for example, Africa had kingdoms, the Ghana and empires. We had emperors and kingdoms with kings and all that. And they were very well connected, very close to each other. Are we together on that? Now, if we begin to define Africa and the African people within the European context or the Arab context or the Chinese context or something, we shall get it wrong. Are we together on that? So if you look at our structure before the Berlin Conference, where we became these states that we have, right, we will get it wrong.
But
the bottom line is that if you go to Asia, for example, their cultures are very similar to each other, right? Their belief systems are very close. Some places they are connected. And it's been the same. If you go to Europe, their cultures are very close to each other. It is not this like one is on the North Pole and the other one is in the South Pole. The way the values, our African values, are not very different from each other. But when you bring in the issue of education, for example, you bring the issue of some Africans belonging to the French colony, there's some Portuguese colony, some German colonies, some British colonies. That is where these lines began to show. In West Africa, for like Roland said, because of the impacts of colonization and the people who colonized West Africa, the impact they left in West Africa gave the West Africans a certain perception and a certain mindset
Yeah.
Uganda was not colonized. It was a protectorate.
Yes.
A British protectorate. Are you getting the point? And the Kenyans' experience is completely different from the Ugandan experience under colonial arrangement. So you see, even the Kenyans today are completely different in their mindset from the Ugandans. What am I saying? Ugandans are very relaxed in everything they do. The Kenyans are very advanced because their experiences under the British colonial arrangement.
I think during the fight for independence, and then this one was wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But some, for example, the Mau uprising and stuff like that, and the things they experienced give them a certain kind of mindset and an attitude. Me, when I go to Kenya, I see Kenyans are completely different.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, back to your hand. Do you consider Africans poor?
How you define poor?
Of course, I'm using your description, like the European description.
When you say the European description, then I have to consider Africans as poor because nothing of in the possession of the African is given a value by the European. So Africans have to be seen as poor, but
in reality,
that's what I'm living here, and I'm always saying one bottle of beer is one bottle of beer in every place in the world. I take now beer because it is a national drink in Germany. So, or with other hands, or in other terms, we can eat just one time for the whole day
in
any place in the world. No one can eat more than what he needs. And when in this moment, when someone has enough to eat, has a place to sleep, and has peace, then this person is rich for me. And this is something what has nothing to do with Africa. It is everywhere in the world the same. We can look at it in terms how much leisure time someone has. Do leisure time make someone rich? In Europe, definitely yes. When you're rich, you relax.
Relax.
Yes.
What makes you rich in Europe? Here we have resources. What do you have in Europe?
Less of resources.
Less.
Much less.
Much less.
Much less there are resources in Europe, but compared to Africa, Europe is poor. It is so, what makes rich, what makes a person rich? That is a philosophical question. It is very complicated to answer it. And when Africa is designated as poor, then it is calculated as poor. When someone tells me about an African being poor, and he is a European, then I ask him, and the matoke that this poor African is eating every day, you calculate it in your calculations of his poverty by the prices on the market in New York or London. Because the bunch of matoke in London has a different price than in New York.
Yeah, sure.
But still, the bunch is eaten by the family in few days. So I have to take, when I want to compare this Africa in the village with this European in the village in England, I have to take the same base for the price of the food. Or the comparison is wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is what it is, and in this moment, suddenly the African is eating much more expensive than the English guy.
Oh.
When I calculate it like that. So it is, this rich and poor is a very stupid question, I would say.
So are you going to spread a message that Africans are rich when you go back?
Yes.
Because, oh, you don't do that?
Yeah, but it makes no sense. I'm just one person, so what I say is not important.
No, but you can make an impact still.
I will say something else. As I was in Ethiopia, in the Marcus to be exact, a boy of 11, 12 approached me and told me, give me some money. And I asked him, why should I give you some money? And told me, because you are rich and I am poor. And then I asked him, where do you know from that you are poor? I learned it in school. So we are told that Africans are poor and Europeans are rich and whatever else, but it has nothing to do with reality. When I want you to do something, I tell you what I have to say, that you do it what I want you to tell, and it doesn't mean necessarily that I give you an order. And maybe I tell you some story, and you believe it, and then you do exactly what I want you to do.
Okay. Are you religious?
Not really religious.
What is your belief?
What is belief is that God exists.
God exists. So are you religious or are you spiritual? From where you coming from? From your background?
From the background, I'm Catholic.
Catholic.
Because that is the culture of the place where I grew up.
Okay. Then doctor, are you religious or spiritual?
There's no African who is religious.
So
Africans are spiritual.
So you're spiritual.
Yeah, but I want to speak a bit to the issue of this African ritual.
Please.
Poverty is simply lack of resources. It's as simple as that. And the resources that we have on this earth is for all humanity. Because I can't see you die of food when I have food. But to deliberately create a situation and take it to children in African schools and start teaching them that you have nothing, you are poor. For me, look at me, I am very rich. That is a system. Are you getting me?
Yeah. Yes.
To make all Africans, including the presidents, look at Africa as poor. That is why we run to the World Bank. I am begging for money because the system makes you forget, not to know anything, not to know anything. Forgetting is you know and then you lose.
Yes.
But they make sure that the African child, like all of us, when we were children and we were in school, they make sure the system, which is not created by Europeans, I want to keep that by those who sit down and create this.
Of course, there are a few, yes. There are a few who are good, like Rona saying.
Not a few, majority are very good.
Are they good?
Yes, they are in the same situation that we find ourselves. Majority of them are in the same situation. They make them feel worthless, right?
Yes.
They make them feel like they are nobodies.
Are they also do they also feel inferior?
Of course.
Do they also
feel inferior?
To those who run the system.
Wow.
You go to Europe and you find a family that is partying every day. They have all the good cars, they have all the wines and the whiskeys. They are the, you see the Titanic.
The movie?
The movie Titanic. It's a real story. When Columbus came and said, I found a new land, like they did in Australia, they wanted to take the romantics and criminals, put them on ships and took them to America. The elites who ran the system, those never went at that time until these ones went with their guns. When they go to America, they gave them guns. You watch cowboy movies. That was a true reflection, a true representation of the kind of people they took to America. Are you getting it? Now, when they got there, they started just killing the indigenous people and taking their land. They never paid for that. Okay? Now, when they settled and the place was now calm, then the elite built that class, first class human beings, built the Titanic and saying, let's move to America. But they never reached. That class of people is still there in Europe, and they make the rest of the Europeans feel inferior to them, and they control everything. They are the ones who create the world system, they are the ones who create the World Bank, they are the ones who create the World Health Organization, they are the ones who create all those rubbish of the United Nations, they are the ones who do this.
Yeah, sure.
But as human beings, our challenge when it comes to issues of poverty is that the system doesn't want you to succeed. Are you getting it?
Yeah, sure.
Want anyone to have access to their reports, to have knowledge of their resources. So they come to Africa and teach us in our classrooms, Baba, Blackship, yes, a master. That yes, a master is a servant-master relationship established in your mind at the age of 4. I get it. Today, even our president, our ministers of finance in Africa, our leaders perceive Africa as a poor continent because of the system that is created to create that ignorance about what we have. Look at our school system. I'll give you 2 examples. They teach you everything about Otto von Bismarck, Napoleon Bonaparte, about European history. They teach you about that. But they don't teach you about the resources we have. Okay?
Yes.
How would you know what you have? So whatever you have becomes useless to you because you don't know that.
On that very point, I'd like to pose it to Roland here. Do you also in schools, that is in Germany, in European schools, study about the history of Africa, all that uses things? What do you normally study in schools?
Before I answer your question, I would add something to what Dr. Ablode said. Even in Europe, you get told as a kid, don't ask this. They have been people that are more intelligent than you that thought about it and gave the solution.
Oh.
So this is the same thing. It is so, as I said before, there is nothing special invented for Africans. It is exactly the same used on Africans that was used and is used on Europeans and Asians and Americans. There is not the difference between African and Asian. The difference is between rich, powerful, and poor. That is where the line has to be made, and not the line between the origin, Europe, Africa, and for sure not the line about the looks. Because God made us looking different so that we don't mix up each other.
That is what it is.
That is
But you see, when it comes to Africa, we have suffered so much from that system.
Yes.
Too much. I know the Europeans and the Asians have also suffered. But for us as Africans, our priority should be to get our acts right first. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
And then we can support that.
What do you study? Do you study in
I was learning about it. Well, I had a problem. I was, as a kid, very curious, still am. So I can't remember if I learned something in school
About that.
or if I learned it from some books.
Okay.
About?
About anything. I just remember that as I was in the 3rd class of the primary, I was so stubborn to the teachers that as I came in the 4th class, they kicked me out and put in the 5th. Because I was just bored. I was always reading books under the bench and not paying attention to what is going on in class. And then they made, before I went to the first class, they I had to make some tests about it. In this test, print was shown to me. And I remember till today, I was 10 years old, and I was very upset about myself that I couldn't recall the name of the place that was shown on the print, and I was describing it to the psychologist that was testing this print, and that's what I said. This print I see a boat with people, they are black people, but they are not from Africa, they are from this island, north of Australia, and I cannot recall what is the name. It is called Papua. And so when I knew at that time the difference between Africans and Papuans in looks and culture like that, that means I learned it somewhere. But don't ask me where. For sure we learned the history of North Africa, which is closely connected to the European history.
Oh, yeah.
Then there is learning some little about the history farther south from the Sahara, but not this much.
Okay.
I learned most of it, I know here, I learned by myself, and I learned through traveling. I actually traveled to Africa because it wasn't fitting. What I was reading about Africa in the news, that wasn't fitting together. It wasn't. It was self-contained.
What was it? What was it? Show us.
Negative.
It is so that if I put everything what they said about Africa as a place, sicknesses, poverty, violence, and Africa should have been depopulated. At the same, and 2 lines later, they wrote about population exclusion in Africa. And that doesn't fit. That means there is somewhere a lie. And when there is somewhere a lie, there is only one way. When you want to know about it, is you go and check yourself. And I remember as I crossed the border from Sudan, which is a very poor country, to Ethiopia, I was dumbstruck how rich Ethiopia is.
How rich they are?
How rich Ethiopia is. Later I learned that to have development aid, I call it now aid in a country, I will explain in a moment what I mean with it. Why? You need 2 things, beer and girls. With beer and girls? Yes, without beer and girls you won't find foreign helpers.
Yeah, and what?
Girls.
Girls.
Yes. And why? It's very simple. When we imagine we go to an undeveloped country, a country called undeveloped. To be correct. We go to a country that is called undeveloped, like Uganda is called. We have here many organizations that help with the development. What will happen with those organizations when Uganda develops?
When evolves.
They
will be unemployed.
Exactly. And now, do any intelligent person works on something that makes them unemployed? So, what will all these development health workers do when they are here?
Undeveloped.
Exactly.
Yeah. To make sure that to remain there. Yeah.
And that's why their organization are called NGO.
Yeah.
NGO is an abbreviation for nothing going on.
Like that.
Non-government organizations.
No, nothing going
on.
That is true abbreviation. But it was found as excuse.
Okay, now you say you're Catholic, as you're winding down. What is the color of Jesus?
It depends on the place where you are. I was told Jesus is everywhere in every culture, Catholic means the church for everyone, welcoming everyone. So I was simply told we depict Jesus in the way how we see our neighbor, and that is correct.
That's what you taught.
That's what I was told when I was a kid, when I was a youth in religion.
Do you have pictures of Jesus hanging in your churches?
Yes.
What color is he?
The same as we are around there.
What color?
The same as we are.
When you say we are 3 years.
No, not here. When I say we, I mean the people in Europe. The same color as the people in Europe.
So Jesus, like you, resembles you.
Yes. When we go to Africa, you have to see the second oldest country, Christian country in the world, is in Africa. And when you go to this country, then you see the pictures of Jesus, and the Jesus looks just like the people in that country.
Which country is that?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. So their Jesus looks like Ethiopians.
Of course.
And your Jesus looks like German.
Exactly.
But let me
this is like that. We have to see the oldest Christian country that is some few years older than Ethiopia is Armenia. By that time in Asia. And by that time there have been basically no Christians in Europe. As Ethiopia became a Christian country, so Africans have been Christians before Europeans. And even when you read the Bible, Jesus visited Africa, but not Europe.
Yes. At the time of Jesus Christ, when they cameras, Jesus lived as a person. And we understand he comes from Nazareth. And Nazareth is from the Hebrew.
It's a Jewish
area, isn't it?
Yes. And Jesus was a Jew.
But at the time he was around. But they cameras. How did we get the photographs?
I don't know.
Because that has baffled me for years.
Some of these religions can tell us, where did you get the picture of Jesus Christ?
As I said, because there are no pictures. There are given to us the people of Jesus, just like
As the way
as you look yourself, and the look of Jesus, of course, changes from place to place. As I came to Turkana, to Lodva, there have been beautiful pictures of Jesus, black Jesus. I asked where are they coming from? Oh, it was a Catholic artist from USA who came and with local artists made painting of religious saints where they used the people, the dressing and everything of the Turkana. And I can recommend anyone who is concerned about it to visit the cathedral in Lodva and look on the pictures there, because they express the way how I was told the religious pictures have to look like, just like the people around there. So Jesus is there dressed as a Turkana. Even the cross isn't the Roman cross, but the cross is built in the way how Turkana would build the cross.
Wow.
So that is, and who has a problem with it? I don't know. People who bring up this problem try to distract from real problems, because that is not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always say, religion is one of the pillars of colonization. It is the control. It is used to control the populations of human beings. And it's not just the Africans. In Africa, it's very severe. Today, in Europe, where Christianity came, they are selling off their churches. Churches are put on sale. People are not going to church. You can do some research on it. They have put price tags on church buildings and selling them off. People are buying them and collecting them, drinking glass.
Church on sale.
Yeah.
Yes.
Family sale.
Together with together with the believers or the
No, the Africans are busy praying that they want to go to heaven. And yet the Bible says that heaven is for poor people, those who are weeping and gnashing their teeth. It is difficult for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God.
Yeah, that is one thing. But there is another thing, what I like more in the Bible, actually my favorite thing in the Bible is the story of the talents. It is this man who leaves his money to his servants, goes on a travel and comes back and asks, what have you done? Yes, what have you done with the talents I gave you? And I guess God will one day ask me and ask everyone, what have you done with the talents I gave you? This one, and whatever. And I don't want to be one of those who say, oh, I prayed all the time.
Okay, the conclusion. Doctor, you know what, as in, because we're fighting discrimination, first of all, you know, which is actually moving, which is all over. You want to ensure that there's no discrimination.
Discrimination is a construct. The discrimination between you, our brothers and sisters, anywhere on earth, is a world construct. It is not natural. It is a world construct. We need to ensure that we abandon this world system completely, because the only thing it delivers is chaos, hate, confusion. You know, they put you into an arrangement where you even hate your own brothers and sisters. Religion has torn up families in Africa. Part of the families is Muslim, the other one is Christian, and they can't even sit down and eat. Are you getting it? Because maybe one went to a Muslim school, one went to a Christian school, they are from the same home, but they can't sit down and talk. Education, the same.
So we abandon the system.
Politics. These three tools of new colonization. Even the Europeans are colonized by the world system. Colonization is getting you into an arrangement and keeping you there, where you have no sovereignty, you can't think for yourself. Your life is determined by a certain group of people. We are not the only ones suffering. Just that ours is so severe that we need to deal with it and deal with it decisively. So the point is this. What we call discrimination among human populations is a construct of the world system. That is the point of it. And all of us, human beings, need to know that. Then once we know that, the war will be the rest of the people. That is the world system. We need to collapse the United Nations system because it's not in anybody's interest. We need to collapse the World Bank because it's not in anybody's interest. We need to collapse the IMF because it's not in anybody's interest.
And put up our own systems.
No, just leave us normal people.
Yes. How do you want to collapse the system?
Ignoring them. Whatever you ignore doesn't exist. If our presidents, if we stop going to them, thinking that because we are poor, they should give us money. If we stop, that will be the end of them. Yes. If we stop listening to them, now they have placed their staff in all our central banks. If we tell them, remove your staff from our central bank, we shall manage our situation. Are you getting to the point? Yes. They make you feel that without them, you cannot do anything. And that is it.
That's something you say. You have something to say. You want against discrimination as one help.
I can only agree in full with Dr. Ablode what he said. Discrimination is part of divided and impera. When you want to control some group of people, divide it. They will fight each other while you are doing your thing, whatever you want. Because in case someone noticed that you do something what they do not like, you point on the other people. When you want to control people, you need always a division between different groups of people so that you can point on them so that they fight each other. That's why I do not like to say, yes, we Africans, we Europeans. No, I'm European, you're African, and that was it. If we do something together or not, is agreement between us and has nothing to do with other Europeans or Africans. Okay? That's how I see it. So, discrimination, and maybe that is all constructed. There is a discrimination when it is put into law. Because that is a discrimination by the state, it is something what we can't avoid. So discrimination we have when we put your skin shade in your passport, or your religion in your passport, and then start to treat you different because of that. There are countries where it happens right now. But calling something discrimination just because you abuse someone for the look. I have long hair. I get abused for my long hair. I had long hair since I'm in this language. I got used to it. But there are people that call me a girl. But they say, those people are just envy. Never forget that someone who is abusing you because of your dark skin just lost a girlfriend to your dark.
Thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.